You've decided to work remote from remote places, and now you've got to pick out a vehicle to do it. Let's get started. Let's start with some basic criteria to help start the conversation. First being the duration of how long you want to remote work remotely. Is it just a 3 or 4 day weekend? Because those are fun. You can get a lot done in a short amount of time. Maybe you'll be doing this during the week and headed back home on weekends. This could even extend into 2 or 3 weeks, but it still falls on the shorter side. Maybe it's months you're interested in. It's going to have an impact on the vehicle you choose. You'll need that vehicle to do a lot more than just drive around, and more on that in a minute. Finally, you are all in, and you're going to want to be doing this permanently. In my mind, this means 1 year or more. Some people would disagree with that, and you're not serious unless you're committed to more than 3 or 4 years. Now, that's an insane amount of time. You could practically miss a whole presidency. Maybe consider this option. Next criteria you want to process is where. Is this urban stealth camping or rural? Will you mostly be traveling on highway systems or off-road? Because the vehicle and supplies will need to be able to support that type of adventure. And lastly, this is the one I'm really interested in. Is your adventure on-grid versus off-grid? Are you planning to have your own supply of power and water, or are you going to plug and play along the way? The reason this is important is because it affects your duration, and it definitely affects your costs. So the more off-grid you go with equipment, the longer your duration can be, but the higher the costs go up. Also be thinking about what kind of comfort and quality of life you want out of your remote work, because I've seen quite a range, from as bad as a wet tent with a laptop, a 30-year-old van, all the way up to the top of the line with a Class A RV. So try to picture if you want to be a part of a traveling circus or a luxury travel office. Most people start in the middle. They haven't done this before, so they need some familiarity to a vehicle type. And then lastly, be thinking about why you want to do remote work. Maybe you need an adventure. Maybe you've been quarantined all year in your basement. Maybe it's a new pattern you want for your life that's different from the debt-ridden typical American dream. Whatever it is, you're at a place in your career that's totally open to a major life change. You've had adventures at work, you've gotten promoted, you've done a lot of good work, and right now, if you were offered more money to stay in a cubicle, for you, it would be such a hard pass. So why not go traveling up and down a coast? Okay, let's review vehicles. Number 1, Class A RV, aka the bus, the biggest and longest vehicle type. With a cost starting around $120,000, not only will you need a different license, you'll also need to get rid of your mortgage to afford one of these. They almost always have a built-in shower, kitchen, refrigerator. It really is the traveling house. AC, heat, microwaves, and slide-outs doubling the size. But try and get one of these up in the mountains, that's a whole nother video. Number 2, Class B. I call it the DIY RV because typically most people buy them completely empty and then they custom build them to their liking. I'm a big fan of this type of vehicle because they have a shorter wheelbase, which means you can get in and out and off-road in most cases. You're also not having to haul anything. Almost all the other types are going to require you to haul some kind of trailer or another vehicle. I'm certainly planning on doing a design episode on Class Bs along with downloadable blueprints for the various types of adventure vans. And that includes Sprinters, Ford Transits, and the Dodge ProMasters. Number 3 on the list is the classy Class C. I don't know why I call it classy. It started with a C. Anyway, went with it. This is like a poor man's Class A. It's still kind of bulky. It has the bathroom and the kitchen and the shower, but it comes with added stigma. And I'm sure I'll hear it in the comments. It's not exactly world-class quality control. They're just not made with the standards equal to the amount of money that you're going to spend. This stuff's not built with the same kind of warranties that you get with a new car or SUV. Either way, it's still going to be really tricky to get this off-road. Number 4, the trusty PopUp. People love these things. They're cost-effective. You can tow them behind most SUVs, vans, and trucks for sure. The cost is just perfect because you can get a little kitchen, bath, and shower in these things. And they usually sleep up to 5 or 6. I absolutely think this can be a traveling office so long as you buy one made out of aluminum. Anything else is basically the plywood derby, and if it gets wet internally, you're better off building one of these things out of an old tent and popsicle sticks. Number 5, the fifth wheel. I never thought the name ever made any sense, but originally the fifth wheel is from horse-drawn buggies in the 1850s. But I love calling these things the toilet swooshes because you see the design pattern everywhere, and it's always the same shades of brown swooshes, like an insanely bad camping experience sponsored by some Nike knockoff. But the bright side of these is they aren't very expensive. You just park them and go. But if you don't have a heavy-duty towing capacity truck, well, go ahead and add another $40,000 to that. And finally, number 6, it's your daily driver, the car you already own and know how to operate. If you're just getting started doing remote work from remote places, why spend any money before you find out that bear spray can be bought in bulk? If you're just getting started, the only major thing that you need is a really good tent and a memory foam mattress. And now the only downside of this versus everything else is you will not work from the inside of your car. So you got to find an alternative to that. Maybe a zero gravity chair or something. In closing, friends told me I was missing one vehicle type on the list, but I cannot, under good conscience, recommend the mullet. Only you can decide if the mullet is right for you. Whatever vehicle you choose, pick one that gives you the best chance to get out there and go have an adventure. Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe, or my family will be living in somebody's basement.